I was just one of many who was drafted during the Korean War. I had been out of high school about a year, and one day I got a letter that said, well, it wasn't quite a year. The letter said, greetings, your friends and neighbors have requested your presence at basic training course in the service. Went in and took a physical exam and passed the course, and then I went to basic training in, I went to Fort Lewis, Washington first, then down to Camp Gordon, Georgia. And I stayed there until early '52, doing my basic training and training in the Signal Corps as a high-speed radio operator, and then was shipped to Korea. Went back to Fort Lawton, Washington, and got on a ship, and 15 days later landed in Yokohama. And during that 15 days, I think the 1,500 soldiers that were on that ship were sick once or twice there. If we had to have fought a battle, I think we would have lost it on the ship. We got to Yokohama, and it was nice because we got our mail and got on a train, went to Fort Drake, which was a relocation center in Tokyo. And from there we were assigned certain areas, and we went back to, in Korea, certain units, went back to Yokohama and then around to Busan. And in Busan we boarded the train and headed north, and I was shipped up to a place called Chuncheon, Korea, and from there we were off the train on 2.5-ton trucks and went on to a place called Kwanda-ri, which was right on the 38th parallel. At that time we could go beyond that 38th parallel because we were still at war, and I was shipped by a 3/4-ton vehicle after I had been around the company area for a while, and was shipped on to an area north of Kwanda-ri, where I was assigned to a radio teletype van. I had one of those that I was in charge of, and another fellow and I would, what we did, we took fire control information from forward posts, forward observers, and we relayed that back to division artillery, which then fired missions at the enemy. This happened for probably about 3 or 4 or 5 months, somewhere in that vicinity, and then all of a sudden everything just ended, so to speak, and we really didn't do much except just man the radio teletype van. We had it so that we did have to sleep in tents outside the van, and we had it set up, which I'll show you some pictures here in a minute. And but it was an interesting time. But prior to going on the radio teletype van, I worked at Corps headquarters as a high-speed radio operator, and we copy code for X number of hours, and then we were off for X number of hours. But then after the code kind of went, we went into radio teletype because everything had to go through a cryptographic machine, and when they came into the radio teletype van, we had the machine and we could put it through, and then it went back to division headquarters, and that's where they followed out on with the fire missions. But it was interesting, and then when my time was up, I was sent back to the battalion area where I ran a radio code school for the last 3 months before my time was up and I was shipped home. When we got word that I headed home, it was awful good to see the old American soil again. It was great, but our family, all of us boys, our sons in our family, including my father, fought in the war. Dad was in World War I and was wounded, and I had two brothers in World War II, one in Pacific and one in North Africa and up through Europe. Fortunately, my two brothers and I were, even though the other two saw combat, came home without any wounds, but Dad had been wounded severely in World War I. But he was a machine gun squad leader, and the shell that got him wounded him and one other fellow. The rest were killed by just in his squad. So war's been around for a while and probably will continue to be. Korean War Memorial was started in 1996, and was finally dedicated in on Friday, June 13th, 1997. This actually was a dedication to the 139 Montanans who were killed during the Korean War, not to mention those who were POWs.
Well, I'm just one of the committee members. We had 18 members on the committee. We met weekly for an hour every week to get this memorial going. All 18, well, just about all 18, donated out of their own pockets to get the memorial fund going. And then, of course, we all approached businesses, such as you see on the stone over there, which all donated a lot of money for this memorial. And it was a lot of work, but it was a work of love and dedication, and I think it came out nice. And we've had many ceremonies here since then. On the anniversary of the Korean War, we had the ambassador to South Korea here, and we had a big ceremony here. And then we have Memorial Day ceremonies out here on the lawn between the two memorials. And we're pretty proud of this memorial and of the park itself. We have different committees. I've been on several committees. The Vietnam War Memorial Committee, we put that in. There's a couple over on the side with Grenada. We put those in. The Law Enforcement Museum is down at the other end for officers still in the line of duty. And I'm a retired deputy sheriff. So the park means a lot to veterans, and we want to keep it this way. Well, it's unfortunate we weren't able to get the Doughboy statue down here. That's what we tried at one time, but it's too fragile to move. But like I say, we have our memorial ceremonies that end up here after we do 10 ceremonies at all the veterans cemeteries around Missoula, and end up here on Memorial Day in the afternoon for the last ceremony. So we sure would invite all the public to come down and partake in that.
We started, and when the final stones were laid and everything was planted, it really turned out to be a beautiful memorial. And if anyone watching this has not visited it, they should, because it's really, really nice. Always ongoing costs, which we can always use money for to keep the flowers and things moving. Currently, the two American Legion posts in Missoula and the VFW post are going to do the annual maintenance on the memorial. Most of the Korean War guys are getting up in years. Consequently, it's kind of hard to get them to kneel down and pick a weed or two out of the deal. I did not know personally any of the men. However, I do know some of the relatives of the men on the wall. In fact, one of the gentlemen, Jack Stevenson, is in our local coffee group, and I believe it was his cousin who is on the wall. 'Cause, 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 'cause,
I don't think it was Stevenson, but I don't remember exactly the name, what name it was. And there was another gentleman, Fred Thomas, down in the Stevensville area who had a relative there too.
I don't want to make something that's already been made. I want to make stuff that's unique and stylish. But I want to make something pretty. Something that people will enjoy.